Hello, friends and family. We want to welcome you back to a new episode of the Reimagine You LAB Podcast. And this is MG. And of course, you guys know every third Friday of the month, we have the one, the only Dr. Joyce Moore. Hello, Dr. Joyce.
Hi, Mrs. Michelle. How are you?
I am doing wonderful. I am doing wonderful. How about you?
I am the same. I'm blessed. Thank you for asking.
Well, likewise. Well, I am excited, Dr. Joyce, because as usual, you always have something that you are sharing with us that's going to make the ears perk up and us pay attention so that we can do something to really edify and strengthen these bodies today. But
Yes.
before we jump in, we always like to give the disclaimer, right? So
Yes. Yes.
everybody, we want you to know this information is for what, Dr. Joyce?
Educational and inspirational purposes only. It's not to make a diagnosis or treat. I do recommend that you see your family healthcare provider and most importantly, seek Jesus Christ, the great physician.
Yes, he is the one and only. And of course, Dr. Joyce has resources that are available at purplemindbook.com. And you can even pick up her publications on amazon.com. So anything that you are hearing or learning, Dr. Joyce has some resources and tools that are available to help you even further. So make sure you check those out. And with that, we will get started for today. So what are we talking about today, Dr. Joyce?
So we are talking about nutrition and wellness. And as you mentioned, most of the information that I will be giving is in the book, Nutrition and Wellness, Everything That You Need to Know from A to Z, a conversation with Dr. Joyce G. Moore on the Jocelyn Moore Show. So this information that I am providing, some of it is in the Nutrition and Wellness book. So go to Amazon or purplemind.com and order the book. It will be very helpful to you. So today we're going to be talking about how to keep harmful sweeteners out of your diet to help prevent type 2 diabetes and other diseases. And we know that with diabetes, with sugar in your blood, it can lead to inflammation. And inflammation is like the rabbit trail to other diseases in addition to type 2 diabetes.
Okay, so this is gonna be a good one because you're coming right down Cupcake Lane and
Yes.
Cookie Street and High Avenue. So let's talk about it, Dr. Joyce.
And Reese's candy bars and so many other
Yes. Oh, it's way too many, and sweetness.
Yes.
I'm sure there are probably some that are listening in today that are saying, "Oh man, what are they gonna say? What are they gonna be talking about?" Because sweets is one of those things that becomes a habit. It becomes a vice, right? Like we like to have something sweet. So yeah, and so we do got to be mindful of these. And so I know that you will tell us why and what to look for and all of those good things.
So first of all, we have several things that we need to look for on our food containers. One of which on the very front of the food containers, we're going to be looking for certain things. And then we need to also look at the nutrition facts labels on all of our food containers. And then under the nutrition facts labels, you will see ingredients lists. And then look even under the ingredient lists and make sure your food product does not contain a bioengineered ingredient.
Okay, so we've got lots that we need to be looking for.
Yes. So look for on the front of your food containers, you want to look for two labels. You want to look for USDA, which stands for United States Department of Agriculture, organic. And what this means is that the food was grown in the land. It was not grown in a pond, a hydroponic. It's not hydroponic food. It comes from the soil in the land. And then the other label that you want to look for on the front of your food container is Non-GMO Project Verified with that little butterfly logo. non-GMO, non-genetically modified. And so if you purchase my book, Nutrition and Wellness, I actually explain how they came about with this GMO, genetically modified organisms, back in 1990s, in the early 1990s. So what we want to make sure is that we're not eating foods that has that foods that have been genetically modified. And so you're going to look for this little Non-GMO Project Verified. And I thank the illustrator, Mr. Artist Stovall, for this illustration, because the Non-GMO Project, they will not allow people to just use their labels. This is a very trustworthy, and what they're trying to do is to keep genetically modified food out of our diet.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful. So, Dr. Joyce, with that non-GMO Project Verified, do people submit? Are the grocers or farmers, or do they submit to be a part of that project?
Yes, the food manufacturers have to qualify to become or to use this label, this logo on their foods. Their foods cannot contain genetically modified organisms. And this is, and I'm just so grateful that we do still have honest people who are trying to help us to keep our bodies from being tainted with genetically modified organisms, which may even change our genetic makeup and make us transgenic people. So this particular project, they make sure that any food manufacturer who wants to use their label, they have to qualify. They have to meet their compliance that they do not have genetically modified food or bioengineered ingredients, which is a term that's used, which means GMO, but now they just take it to another level in that they go in and change the genetic makeup of the food by altering a gene or two. So they go from genetically modified organisms to another step, and they call that bioengineered, where they actually go in and change the genes, the genetic makeup in the gene sequence of the food.
Okay, that's good. All right, well, let's hit them with the wisdom word, Dr. Joyce. I think we need that, right? That's important.
Yes, this is our foundational scripture, and a lot of people have told me, oh, we didn't even see this. We didn't even know that this was in the Bible. So this is Genesis 1:29. Now, this is in the Amplified Bible. And God said, see, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of all the land, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food. And the word God didn't say, our creator didn't say, you may, you might, if you want to. This is a suggestion. When you see shall, this is an instruction.
Yes. Don't run by that too quick. This is a command. This is non-negotiable. It's what I like to call it. This is a non-negotiable. Oh, I love it, Dr. Joyce. So Dr. Joyce, keep sharing with us here, because I think it's so important that as we're learning the genetically modified and now bioengineered, those types of things. And so it looks like there are some areas, some particular crops that specifically that are genetically modified.
Yes. As a matter of fact, 80% of the food in the United States has been genetically modified. Now, in order for yes, 85% of the food that's on the store shelves have been genetically modified. To genetically modify food, it's very expensive. So what they use is the food that's mostly eaten by people, like corn. And then we're talking about sweeteners. So I'm just going to mention the different foods that they are genetically modifying the crops to use them as sweeteners. And that would be corn, cane sugar, which we know as table sugar or granulated white sugar or granulated sugar, and sugar beets.
Okay.
So from these genetically modified crops, they are making the sweeteners to put into food. And so with that, we can also And for my for the information that I provide, I'm using scientific facts, and I'm also
Mhm.
the Word of God. I call those the two witness. Now, the scientific
Mhm.
facts, they'll change, but the God of the Word of God is the truth, it's the way, and it's life, and it never change. So in Genesis 1:11 in the Amplified Bible, God said, "Let the earth bring forth vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees yielding fruit whose seed is in itself, each according to its own kind, upon the earth." And it was so. So when you go to the genetic modified crops, you will see that this in itself is violating God's law of the plant kingdom reproduction.
Mhm. Mhm. No, this is good. Hey, Dr. Joyce, before we jump there, so for those who might not know, I'm just thinking about, the audience overall as a whole, and this might be the first time that they're listening and even heard any practical anything on sweeteners and artificial sweeteners. Can you just share a little bit about what are artificial sweeteners and how they differ like from your natural sweeteners, because I think that would be helpful to people.
Yes, ma'am. And we're going to get to that. Um,
Okay. Okay.
um, Basically, that's a very
If we
important.
get to if we're getting to it, then I won't stop you. We'll keep going to, and we'll get to it.
uh, and
Okay.
the reason why I wanted to go through what you're looking for on the front of the food packages and what you're looking for on the side and the rest of the outside of the food packages is because there's so many layers now to the genetically modified and them putting them in our food. So of
Mhm.
course we're going to look for USDA organic, and we're going to look for that little non-GMO verified project with the little butterfly. But
Mhm.
now you're going to turn your food container maybe to the back side or to the side and look for nutrition facts, because every food container or package is mandated by FDA to put the nutrition facts on it. So
Mhm.
when we look at nutrition facts, we're going to see our servings, then we're going to see calories, and then of course total fat, and then we'll see cholesterol, sodium, and then under total carbohydrates. This is what we're going to look for. We're going to look for total sugars.
Mhm.
And on this package, you see that we have 3 grams of total sugar. Total sugar means natural sweeteners, like you were asking, how do you differentiate between natural sweeteners and artificial sweeteners?
Mhm.
Total sugars would be the natural sugars that are found in fruits and vegetables and even whole grains. And when we
Okay.
see total sugars, that's good, because you know whether or not you want to eat 3 grams of sugar or no sugar, or 3 grams is fine. But
Mhm.
what you want to make sure is that there is no included or added sugar. And
Okay.
you want to see 0 grams of added sugar, because that's when they're adding in artificial sweeteners, GMO sweeteners, but the manufacturers do not have to tell you which one they're adding in. So
Okay.
in order to stay away from the bad sweeteners, which are the genetically modified sweeteners and the artificial sweeteners, you just want to make sure your label under the nutrition fact says 0 included or added sugars.
Added sugars. Okay. No, that's good. That is good.
So of course, we're looking at total sugars. So you're gonna see total sugars on your nutrition facts labels. These are all naturally occurring healthy sugars such as glucose, fructose,
Mhm.
sucrose,
Okay.
maltose. Now, glucose and fructose and sucrose, these are found in your vegetables. These are found in your fruits. Now, the maltose is usually found in the whole grains. These are all sugars found in organically grown non-GMO vegetables and fruits. And of course, non-GMO means these are seeded vegetables and fruits. If it's
Mhm.
GMO, the litmus test is most of the fruits and vegetables will not have seeds if they have been genetically modified. And
Okay.
these include sweet potatoes are used as contain, these natural sugars, glucose,
Mhm.
fructose, sucrose, and maltose, and sucrose. Beets, onions, peas, corn, vegetables, tomatoes, watermelon, fruits, grapes, pears, pineapples, oranges, all of the seeded non-GMO vegetables and fruits contains your natural sugars. And
Okay.
we do need natural sugars. That's why it's labeled under carbohydrates, because sugars provide energy.
Mhm.
Energy
Mhm.
is the source that keeps the cells, the tissues and organs functioning. They provide the nutrients. They provide the energy for these cells to support an overall healthy and normal bodily function. So we do need sugar.
Yes. Okay.
And we want to get our sugar from natural sugars. So total sugars, yes, we see total sugars. Total sugars refer to natural sugars found in fruits and vegetables. So
Mhm.
eating in moderation as part of a healthy diet, they provide energy. Like I said, a fuel source for the cell
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
essential nutrients that support the cells, the tissues, and organs of the body in performing various functions and activity. So you
Okay.
want to see total sugars. You want to see if you see 3 grams or 23 grams of total sugars or no total sugars, just know that total sugars, if you have them on your nutrition facts labels, it means natural sugars, the sugars that the creator, that God has placed into these delicious seeded fruits and vegetables.
Okay. No, that's good. It's good to know that and to be able to identify those total sugar, like what total sugars are compared to those added. Okay.
Okay, so we want total sugars, but we want zero included or added sugars. And for the total sugars, we need to eat in moderations. Okay.
Mhm. Mhm.
So you want to eat in moderation total sugars, these natural sugars, these sugars that are a part of fruits and vegetables as part of a balanced diet in
Mhm.
healthy people. And if you're trying to watch your weight, you want to monitor the servings of sugar. So if it's saying 35 grams of sugar, that's a lot of sugar. If it's saying three
Mhm.
grams, hey, that's okay. And then the servings. And if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, you want to monitor the amount of total sugar intake and make
Okay.
sure there's no included sugar.
Got
So
it. Got it. Okay.
So,
So
under the
good.
words total sugar, avoid foods with included added sugar or added sugar because they are usually unnatural and not healthy. They're man made GMO sugars and sweeteners, and they're man made artificial sweeteners.
Okay. Okay.
So here's a food label that we see when we look under total carbohydrates and then go
Mhm.
down to total sugars. We see that there is 12 grams of included added sugar. This is a no-no. Well, even if you're healthy, even if you're not trying to watch your weight, or even if you're not pre-diabetic or diabetic,
Mhm.
included added sugar are unhealthy GMO artificial sweeteners, and they're all bad for your health. And so, in addition to looking at the nutrition facts label, also read the ingredients on all of your food containers and packages. And we see in the ingredients in this, it says wheat, and then it says sugar. And they are saying sugar because you have included 12 grams of added sugar, but they're not telling you. The food manufacturers do not have to say this is a GMO sugar that we included. This is an artificial sweetener sugar that we included. They do not have to
Mhm.
say that. That's why it's so important to keep included or added sugars out of your diet. And then if
Okay.
you look under ingredients, read further and make sure you do not see bioengineered food ingredients. And what does bioengineer means? It means GMO.
Mm-hmm.
It
Mm-hmm.
was a big pharmaceutical, and this is in the book Nutrition and Wellness. A giant pharmaceutical purchased a patent of the glyphosate or the GMO foods,
Mm-hmm.
the GMO tolerant crops foods from a large agriculture chemical company. So that large agricultural chemical company had a bad rap. So they decided, okay, we're not going to call it GMO. Let's name it bioengineered. And let's take it to another level. We can go in and alter just by changing the sequence of the genes of the food. So not all bioengineered foods have had their genes altered, but all bioengineered foods are genetically modified organism foods. They are GMO foods.
Yeah. Wow, Dr. Joyce, I like that. Now, do all food manufacturers have to include that on their label that it contains a bioengineered food ingredient? So is that something that we absolutely know, or sometimes is it, there's some bioengineered foods in there and we don't know and it's not labeled? Is that a requirement?
That's a good question. And that's why on the front, we want to look for the little butterfly,
The GMO project.
the
Yeah.
little butterfly, and for sure, which says the logo on the Non-GMO Project Verified, because they may not include bioengineered food ingredients, but when you see, if you don't see that little logo, the Non-GMO Project, it could contain a bioengineered GMO product.
Got you. Okay. Nope. That's good
That
to know.
was a great question. Great
Good
question.
to know.
Okay, so nutrition facts labels with included added sugars and the term contains a bioengineered food ingredient. You will not see the words GMO, genetically modified, or artificial sweeteners on the label, but they may still be in the product. So this is actually what you had just asked.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
if you don't even see bioengineered food ingredients, and on the front of your container you do not see this little label Non-GMO Project Verified with the little butterfly,
Mm-hmm.
then it probably contains a bioengineered food ingredient. And if it has included sugar, definitely stay away from it.
Got you. Okay. Good to
So
know.
again, we are reading nutrition facts labels, and you want to avoid foods with included added sugars or added sugars, especially, and I'm saying just across the board, just try to stay away from foods with included added sugars because, again, included added sugars, these are GMO based sweeteners that have been heavily processed.
Mm-hmm.
They contain no nutrients, but they're high in calories. And I think
Mm.
the,
Yeah.
the worst of all of these bioengineered sweeteners would be your high fructose corn syrup. And it's
Mm-hmm.
also referred to as HFCS. So they may abbreviate it, and you just might see on the container HFCS. Oh, what is that? That's for high fructose corn syrup. And then fructose corn syrup, same thing. Corn
Mm-hmm.
syrup. And you remember we said that corn was one of the first crops that was genetically modified so that they
Mm-hmm.
could make this, and they are making the high fructose corn syrup, and a lot of these other syrups from
Mm-hmm.
this genetically modified corn crop. Stay away from molasses and granulated sugar.
Mm-hmm. I
These,
remember as a kid, this is terrible, but we used to use K-Row syrup as our syrup.
yes, yes.
And so yeah, you know what? It was really sweet. I haven't had any K-Row syrup in a long time. No, this is good, Dr. Joyce, to really be able to kind of dig into the sweeteners and what to watch for that included added sugar, added sugars, the bioengineered ingredients on the label.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is good. This is good stuff. Good stuff.
And they're using these genetically modified sweeteners because they are expensive. And most of them have a long shelf life. So of course,
Mhm.
the the food manufacturers are into making money. And so
Mhm.
that's why they are using that at the expense of our health. And when you mentioned the Cairo syrup and the molasses, well, probably before the 1990s, the early 1990s, you may not have been getting genetically modified, you know,
Mhm. Oh
uh,
yeah.
sweeteners into those products. But now they are using the genetically modified, mostly high fructose corn syrup and sweet beets that have been genetically modified to make these sweeteners even sweeter because they know that people like, sweet.
They
Most
like
people
sweet.
like sweets.
Hmm. But it does come at a cost to our health.
It
Wow.
does.
Wow. Okay. This is always so good, Dr. Joyce. I always feel like I'm learning so much each
Oh,
time.
thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And so, according to scientific research, the GMO high fructose corn sweeteners that's made from genetically modified corn crops, like I
Hmm.
said, they're heavily processed, no nutritional value, high in calories, and they are linked to obesity. So,
Mm.
obesity increases the risk of diabetes, type 2
Okay.
diabetes. So when we
Mm.
say type 2 diabetes now, we're talking about diabetes even in children at a young age, as well as the adult onset of diabetes. And
Mhm.
I've had friends to come to me and say, I don't drink, but when I went to the doctor, they told me that I have fatty liver. And so
Mhm.
I said, well, are you eating high fructose sweeteners or foods with high fructose sweeteners? And so
Mhm.
they mentioned, yeah, I like the drinks, and most soft drinks and fountain drinks contain that high fructose glucose. So high
Mhm.
fructose glucose corn syrup, high fructose corn syrup can cause the non-alcoholic fatty liver. It can also elevate triglycerides, and that's a
Mhm.
type of lipid in the blood associated with thickening of the arterial walls, and that's called um thickening of the arterial walls, arteriosclerosis, which can lead to heart attacks and kidney disease. And I think instead of that, the thickening of the arterial walls is atherosclerosis
Mhm.
and arteriosclerosis. With cholesterol, arteriosclerosis, you get a plaque buildup, and that
Okay.
and that plaque buildup narrows the lumen of
Blood.
the arteries,
Mhm. Mhm.
preventing oxygenated blood and nutrients from getting to the cells, tissues, and organs. But anyway, elevated triglycerides can be related to eating, according to scientific research, eating GMO, high fructose corn syrup,
Okay.
as well as pancreatitis, as well as gouty arthritis. All of these have been scientifically related to the consumption of high fructose corn sweeteners.
Okay. You know what, that's super good to know because a lot of times you don't really realize that the some of the ailments and stuff that you have are coming sometimes from the food that we're eating. And so modifying the food or modifying your diet to not include as that sugar in those types of sugars in
Yes,
the diet can be
yes.
helpful.
Because most people think, oh, they have fatty liver, oh, they're an alcoholic, they're drinking. No, it just could be due to the high fructose syrup that eating in your
Mm-hmm.
desserts and in your pops and your other foods. And like I said, they put it in, manufacturers place that in 80 to 90% of their products.
Okay.
So the other thing that we want to stay away from is also artificial sweeteners. And
Mhm.
again, these are not natural sweeteners. These are man-made sweeteners in the laboratory. And
Okay.
so the reason why you need to stay away from included added sugars, because these grams will be saying that there is maybe an artificial sweetener. We've
Okay.
added an artificial sweetener, but the food manufacturers do not have to say what sweetener
What?
they added. So
Okay.
artificial sweeteners, they are linked to serious health risks. All of them, all of the artificial sweeteners.
Okay.
Saccharin, bladder stones, bladder cancer; aspartame, brain damage; uh,
Mm.
sulfamine K, cancer; sucralose or Splenda, obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure and heart disease; and invert sugar. Now, invert sugar is one of the new, it's not exactly the latest bad player artificial sweetener, but they place these in breakfast, like breakfast biscuits and
Okay.
these little things that you think, oh, I can grab one. They taste so good. It's sweet. It's good. But when you read it and see invert sugar, again, it's important to read the ingredients list. If you see invert sugar, know that this is granulated table sugar added into water. They heat it up to a high temperature
Mm-hmm.
so that it can break down the fructose and the glucose. And then this is what they call invert sugar. And it can cause type 2 or adult onset diabetes. And again, type 2, some kids can have type 2 diabetes because their glucose is so high.
Mm-hmm.
This invert sugar is insulin resistance, and it can cause heart disease. So all artificial sweeteners are bad for your health, and
Yeah.
that's why we want to stay away from included added sugars.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's good. That's new. Something I hadn't heard before.
Awesome. So read nutrition facts labels. Read them. Avoid foods with included added sugar or added sugars, because the added sugars that the manufacturers are placing in food might be artificial sweeteners. And according to scientific research, artificial sweeteners are associated with ischemic stroke, cancer, dementia, including Alzheimer's disease, and just a plethora of diseases.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you say, what sweeteners? Well, what are your healthy sweeteners? So, what we are looking at are organic, non GMO, plant based sweeteners that are 100% pure without added sweeteners. So, again,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to look on your nutrition facts label under total sugars, look under to make sure there are no included added sugars. And so we have stevia, monk fruit, maple syrup, coconut sugar, fresh dates, date syrup can be used, and we can use this in cooking and baking and drizzling on, cereals, pancakes, breads to sweeten your beverages and your teas. And the thing about stevia and the monk fruit is 0 calories. Those are the two sweeteners have 0 calories.
Oh, I've got my key takeaway right now. Those are my sweeteners.
And
Ah.
And again, stevia and monk fruit. Now, the thing about the stevia is that it can cause allergic reactions in patients with allergies to ragweed, marigold, and other related plants. So, if you have any of these allergies, you have a choice. Then you can go to the monk fruit, but it has to be 100% pure without added sweeteners. And it has 0 calories. These two sweeteners are the two sweeteners with 0 calories. They can help lower your blood sugar, and they may help lower your blood pressure, promote gut health, and prevent dental cavities.
Oh, that's really good. No, that's good. That's good, Dr. Joyce. I always it's good to have the things, well, what can I have? What can I use? And I use stevia and monk fruit, and both of those they're great sweeteners. Like they taste good. There's not like that
Yes.
bitter type of an aftertaste and things like that sometimes that people get from some of the artificial sweeteners. But these are both very good. We use them all the time.
Where do you get your monk fruit sweetener from, Miss Michelle? Because a lot of people want to know where to purchase the 100% pure without added sugar or sweeteners.
hmm We get it. We usually shop at Sprouts and get it is where we usually go.
Okay, Sprouts, and
Mhm.
there's a
Mhm.
natural grocers, and yeah, just
Trader
depending.
Joe's
Yeah.
probably has it. I haven't looked for it in there, but Trader Joe's probably has it too.
Yes, yes.
But whatever your I would recommend to people, go to your look at your go online, because if there are things that hey, you want to purchase and be able to look for these things specifically, look and see where can monk fruit near me. You can do that on your phone, on your in your app, and it'll
Exactly.
ask, where stevia near me, and you can get it. Because sometimes it's those subtle shifts, right? Those small
Yeah.
shifts can
Yeah.
have a big impact. Big
Exactly.
impact. No.
Especially if you're pre-diabetic or diabetic, you definitely,
Mhm.
because inflammation leads to heart disease,
Multitude of things.
cancer,
Mhm.
dementia, autoimmune disease. Everything, the scientific research shows that sugar causes inflammation, and so
Yeah.
inflammation leads to those different diseases.
No, I love it, Dr. Joyce. Dr. Joyce, we always feel like we get so much whenever we come on.
To God be the glory. Yes, yes. So
100%.
we want to eat natural, plant-based sugars in moderation. Again, in that's the key. And that's for me too, because most people are either they lean toward sugar or salt. And that's
Yeah.
what I lean toward, the sugar. And I have to remember, I have to even the natural sugars, and stay
Mhm.
away from all artificial and GMO sweeteners in moderation.
Yeah.
Um, and so thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Joyce, I always want to thank you for the insights and revelation that you give us on staying healthy and getting our bodies equipped. And this was a really good one, talking about those artificial sweeteners and checking. And I love that we talk about hitting those ingredient labels every week, like each time, like that can really make a difference. So thank you for being on the show and coming with something good each week.
Thank you.
Family, you are welcome. So, family and friends, I hope that you got a lot out of the show today. Definitely share comments with us. Let us know if there was something that you picked up on that maybe you didn't know before, or something that you're going to now use and immediately apply to your life, to your diet, to your health. And I thank you always for tuning in. Every Friday there is a new show that drops, and we want to thank you for having signed up. And if you haven't signed up already, hit the subscribe button so that you get the notification that when a new episode is released. Dr. Joyce, thank you so much again for being on the show, and we look forward to having you here next month.
Thank you.